Well, Fort Wayne FC heads to Chattanooga for their fourth away match in a row to start the new 2026 season in USL League One. And today we are introducing you in this episode of Crests Colors to the team, the fan base, and the supporter culture in Chattanooga. And to do that, we've got Philip Farrell joining us from the area to tell us all about it. All right, Philip, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, Brian. Not too bad today. Yeah, beautiful day down here. Can't complain. Life's pretty good. Enjoying the start of the soccer season so far. How about you?
Yeah, man, it's a little chilly. The sun is out, so I can't complain too much. We've had a lot of rain, but the sun's out today, 45 degrees here in Fort Wayne, and yeah, can't complain. Looking forward to some soccer this weekend. Unfortunately, it's going to be at your place and not at our place.
Yeah, another game on the road. Chattanooga Red Wolves' first game at home this weekend of the season. So yeah.
Oh, is that right? This is your first home match. Okay,
that is correct. Yeah, two games on the road in the league, and also a game on the road in the cup as well.
Yeah. So, all right. Yeah. So we've got a lot to talk about today. Before we get too much into that, you cover the Chattanooga Red Wolves and other soccer in the area, Chattanooga FC, the women's side. I know you've got some UPSL teams you mentioned down there for the National Soccer Network, formerly the Southeast Soccer Report, that is now part of National Soccer Network. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what you cover down there in Tennessee.
Yeah, thank you. Well, my name is Philip Farrell. Obviously, I'm originally from Ireland. The accent is not a Tennessee accent. Been in the US now for about 10 years and in Chattanooga for about 4. Soccer is part of my life. I've been my whole life. Everywhere I've lived, I've kind of tried to get myself involved in the local soccer culture in various countries and places. And delighted to have the opportunity being here in Chattanooga. We have, 2 professional men's soccer teams in the area. We've got a bunch of women's teams. We've got a bunch of UPSL teams, as you mentioned there. So there's a lot of soccer, a lot of the game here in the scenic city to cover. And thrilled to have the opportunity to do it for the National Soccer Network. My hobby is what I do, and it's what I love doing. And yeah, great to be here and talk to you today. It's exciting to see USL League One grow and to get more teams in, especially teams that have kind of a legacy like Fort Wayne. I think that's really exciting, and I know fans here are excited to see teams like this come in particular to visit, rather than teams that are kind of just created. Out of nothing, I suppose.
Yeah, and I imagine you're excited to see, because we were 0-1-2, and so not doing so well to start the season. So that can't be too hard to look at a new team coming in and without a road win yet.
Sure. Red Wolves don't have a home game at all yet under their belt, so who knows how they're going to do. But it's early days, as we said earlier in the season, and early days in your journey in the professional game. So, I think this is a good Red Wolves side who kept a lot of the best players from last year, but they're not in a position to take any teams for granted right now. I guess we'll talk a little bit about that, but every game is going to be a hard one.
Yeah. So I'm a little familiar with the Chattanooga area. I've mentioned, off screen, off camera, that we've vacation there a couple times. Not a giant city by any stretch of the imagination, but how big is Chattanooga? It's big enough to support all these soccer teams, at least. Yeah
I guess so. I mean, I think it's about 250,000 people last time I checked, but don't quote me on that. Someone's gonna Google that and prove me totally wrong. I think Chattanooga is a very unique city in the American soccer landscape because of the fact that it has 2 professional soccer teams within the greater area of the city. Fans of one of the teams will obviously love to point out that one of the teams isn't technically based in Chattanooga. That's the Red Wolves. They're in East Ridge. But, in the area, there's 2 professional men's teams, both playing at what we would call the Division 3 level. And then you've got, as I said, I think there's 2 UPSL Premier League sides, 3 UPSL Premier Division sides, 2 UPSL First Division sides, and then just up the road in Cleveland, there's another team. Obviously, the Red Wolves and Chattanooga FC both have women's programs as well. It's a soccer mad city. there is a huge player talent pool down this end of the country that I think some people would know about, particularly in North Georgia, which is just down the road, areas around Dalton, and there's more UPSL teams there. There's a great, factory of soccer talent coming out of that area. But I think the culture down here is a sports mad one. Traditionally, it's been SEC football, but the city showed probably, through the experiences of Chattanooga Football Club in the NPSL with those massive crowds they got in the 2010s, that the game has a place here. And it was a bit of a blueprint for a lot of other teams in the Southeast too. So it's a little bit special, and there's two professional teams here, but it's been a bit of a laboratory for what's happened in other cities in the Southeast.
Yeah, I can imagine. So is there, you mentioned the maybe some friendly rivalry, maybe not so much about the not being in Chattanooga, just outside of Chattanooga. Is there a lot of competition between the teams? I know they don't cross over and play each other often.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I won't go into the founding mythos of the Red Wolves, and I think that's been covered elsewhere by people who could talk much better to that, and it's easy to find that information. I think today, you don't find many people who'd follow both teams, that's for sure. There's definitely, I think, not a great relationship there. I find it an interesting thing, though, because I think that club officials on both teams are very sort of interested in the idea of playing each other more often, and when I talk to players, they love the idea of that without it becoming a dog and pony show, but they'd love to see more crosstown games.
Sure.
Fans, I'm not so sure that they're interested at all in that kind of overlap. They did play each other for the first time ever in the US Open Cup last season at Finley Stadium, the home of Chattanooga FC. The game ended 1-1, went to penalties. The Red Wolves triumphed on penalties. I'll tell you, I've watched the game around the world in many different places. I think it was one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen. There were 12,000 people at Finley Stadium.
Wow.
For two lower league teams on a midweek cup game, that's just magic. And while the Red Wolves took home the pass to the next round, and they ended up going on a fantastic cup run, there's no doubt that most of the stadium was wearing blue as opposed to red, sort of indicating that where the two teams are, I think, in the level of sort of popularity and where they are in the community. So that it was wonderful to see. It just shows what the potential of soccer is in this country,
Yeah.
And in small, that there is a city this size that can support both teams. But there's definitely still a big rivalry there, and that game was the atmosphere was just it was. Cut it with a knife, it was just something else last year. So
that's awesome.
More of that, please.
Yeah, I would imagine, me speculating here a little bit, your Irish background, that there's a lot more teams are much closer together. Neighborhood teams in Europe, in England, in Ireland that play one another. So would imagine maybe it had a bit of that feel of crosstown rivalry.
Yeah, I think it was a feel that you don't see very often in the game in the States, unfortunately. And obviously, if you go to you go to LA, you go to New York, New Jersey, and New York, you'll see those kind of games play out in the league at the lower division level. I don't know, is there anywhere else where teams, USL League One, USL Championship, where they play each other? So it's rare and it's special. The Red Wolves play in USL League One, and there's a great sort of southeastern concentration of teams. It's starting to grow a bit out.
Yeah,
maybe a great example. But with Greenville, with Richmond, with Knoxville, there's no stranger necessarily to some away fans coming to CHI Memorial Stadium for games. With MLS Next Pro, it's a bit rarer. For Chattanooga FC, you'll get Huntsville fans coming along, maybe some Atlanta United 2 fans, but I thought that kind of thing that I saw that day, I've just not seen here before. And even I used to live in DC. I used to go to DC United games, and you'll get Philly fans coming down, some Red Bull fans. But boy, I mean, Finley Stadium that day, one side of the field was blue and the other was red. And that was just, the fact that they're two such opposing colors just really added to the whole thing as well. It did feel a little bit like what I'd be more familiar with. In Dublin, we have, I think there's 3 teams in the Irish League of Ireland Premier Division right now. That Shelburne and Bohemians would be within a stone's throw of one another. So I thought it was really great to see that, and whatever direction the game goes in this country in the future, I'd love to see more of that and more teams, more towns.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Fort Wayne is it sounds like it's about the same size as Chattanooga. We got about 250,000 people in the city proper and about 400,000 if you go in the larger metro area. And so for us to have our first professional soccer team, like they've been around USL 2, they get some good crowds in the summer, but it's kind of a summer go get a hot dog, watch a soccer game kind of feel. And you have a few diehards, right? And a lot of casuals that show up for game after game after game. Opening a 9,200, just over 9,000, 9,200 seat stadium. So to hear that Chattanooga, about the same size as our city, supports all this soccer is encouraging to me and encouraging to us here in our city that, hey, we can do this. We can do this. We can fill that stadium. We can support professional soccer here. And so I know our ownership group is behind that, believes that, or they wouldn't have gone after it. DeMarcus Beasley is part of this crew, and his name carries weight, and people want to be there and see what he's doing with this team. And so I'm just encouraged by what's happening there in Chattanooga, rivalry and all, that you have so much soccer in the area that's really growing. So I love that.
It is awesome. If I just say, and like the two teams between them probably put in, well over 5,000 fans each week. Add to the fact that the Red Wolves don't play centrally in the city, and CFC are playing on a football turf in a college football stadium. Neither of them have the perfect stadium opportunity, and you've got like a house divided on itself. So I've no doubt, like with one team and with a community behind it, it's absolutely possible for these kind of clubs to thrive, for sure.
Yeah. Looking forward to it. Let's get to the team itself a little bit here. Chattanooga finished second in the table last year. I don't know if we mentioned that off air or on air yet. Second in the table last year, lost in the quarterfinals in the postseason. Was that to Spokane or was it
Portland?
Portland. Okay. Lost to Portland and made a cup run last year as well. So had some success last season up until the very end, which you either win or you lose your last game of the season, right? You're the champion or you lose a game. But had some success, and you're building on that success this year with a lot of returning players. Tell us a little bit about the core of this club and maybe some of the pieces that they added.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'd start with the head coach, Luke McKenzie, who I think is a Scott McKenzie. I beg your pardon. Getting with the assistant manager's name's Luke. Scott McKenzie, Scottish-born, young coach. A lot of ideas. I find a serious guy, but he's a manager, a head coach who can do a lot with a little. Last year the Red Wolves entered the season with a threadbare squad, and I think everyone, including myself, predicted that they would struggle with a long season, playing in the league, the USL Jägermeister Cup as it was, the US Open Cup. How can you do it with a team with a squad of that size? And while they did add to it as they went through the season, they nonetheless proved everybody wrong. And I've talked to players from last season. I think two of the main things I got from how that team is set up, one is the physical fitness and the shape that they're in to execute their game plan. They have to be strong, they have to be tough, and they have to be quick. And that is just drilled into them. I think that they are an incredibly athletic side. Some big, tough players to have to play against. Eric Kinsner at centre back, Grayson Mercer up front. These are the kind of guys you hate to play against. And the other is just executing a game plan that doesn't rely on possession, doesn't rely on having the ball. They're absolutely wonderful at hitting teams on the break, counter-attacking, nabbing goals when they shouldn't. I think they were so good last season at getting results away from home that they really shouldn't have. And honestly, I think the two games that they've had in the league this year, they won away against Greenville and they drew away against AV Alta. There's parts of those games that could have gone a little better, but to come away with 4 points from two games that really I don't think that they were necessarily the better team in either of them is kind of a continuation of that game plan from last season. So I think they're a really, really, I think they're the kind of team that fans of the game would love to watch. It may not be necessarily it's not fireworks, but it's when Omar Hernandez has the ball, I'll talk about him in a second, it can be fireworks, but generally speaking, I think it's a hardworking team that is very, very well drilled. They were one of the best teams in the league last year, along with Knoxville and Spokane. Led the league for quite a chunk of the year. They went on an insane unbeaten run, and I think it's a shame that they couldn't go further than the first round of the playoffs. They lost to a good Portland team who brought hundreds of fans with them.
They show up, from what I understand.
Yeah, and I talked to those Portland fans during the game, and the journeys they had gone on last minute to try and get from Portland, Maine to Chattanooga, Tennessee. There's no direct flights between those cities.
No,
they got to hop, skip, and jump to get there, and which is very impressive. But I think, I think, like you said, they did enjoy a great cup run, which included putting out, a city rival. So I'm excited to see what they can do this year. They did, as you mentioned, retain, I think the backbone of that squad from Jason Smith in goal, who's was one of the top 3 keepers in the league last year. Missed out on goalkeeper of the year, but an excellent keeper. I mentioned Derek Kinsner at centre back. You've got the 2 Hernandezes, no relation, just incredibly dangerous in attack. And the core of that midfield with Walefi and Wessels, it's really impressive. A lot of the guys they kept on board were guys who were out of contract, who re-signed, and that's always a plus for any club, I think, in lower league football. That's treacherous waters. I said the word waters. Actually, that's a good segue to, I think, the one missing piece this year is Declan Waters, who was their centre back last year alongside Kinsner. He was the sub-captain when Walefi was injured, and he's gone off to Sarasota Paradise this season. He's now club captain down there.
Okay.
I don't say this because he's also Irish, but he's an excellent centre back, and I think that's
Yeah, we've seen him. We've played him.
Okay,
I was going to say, I recognize that name. Where was that from? It was Sarasota. All right.
He's a big, tough, again, athletic centre back, and I think, the club have let in 4 goals in their 3 games so far this season. I'd be worried about that hole that he might have left in his departure. We're going to have to see, though, how that plays out.
Yeah, I think we're in a similar boat there. We've got some returners. All of our returners from Fort Wayne in their USL 2 days are across our back line, 3 across the back, and then one of our goalkeepers. And we've let in more goals this season than I think almost all of last season in USL 2. Which it's 6 goals, 2 goals every game, and playing a new formation than they're used to, and a lot of new guys in front of them, right? And so we're looking at trying to shore up that back line a little bit coming into this match. And I don't like the game plan that you just talked about, because that's how we just got beat up in New Jersey in Patterson against the Cosmos. Was with 72% possession and 20 shots on goal, we lost 2-0. And so we are vulnerable to a counterattack, at least as it stands now. And they've had 2 weeks to, shore up some of that. So knowing that we're maybe going to see that again in Tennessee, let's see what we've done, what adjustments they've made.
Yeah, that's a good point. And those statistics you're talking about just ring very familiar from looking at the Red Wolves in 2025. That's exactly the kind of game plan they executed. I think 2 things, though, I would say is one, in all 3 of their games so far this year, they've conceded first. So if Fort Wayne can nab a goal early, that's very, very possible, and then make them work for it. And I think Tennessee tempo in the US Open Cup showed that you can use the Red Bulls' own medicine against them and put up a sort of a rear guard action and get a goal on the break. And they really frustrated Chattanooga in that game. So there is a blueprint there that a UPSL team managed to execute. They nearly did it against Chattanooga FC then in the next round tempos. So I think there is a game plan there for sure.
Yeah. Fort Wayne has a pretty high-powered offense that, again, 20 shots on goal, they'll start falling soon. I'm not too concerned about that. But again, knowing what we're facing is important, I think, for our fans, people that are listening to this show, watching the game, fans of the sport, are interested in seeing the different styles of play than we've seen year after year in USL 2. We're seeing a little bit more athleticism. We're seeing a little, different formations. We're seeing some bigger, tougher, stronger, faster players in USL League One. And so far, everybody's brought something a little different. And so excited to see this match down in Chattanooga. Now, this is a match that Kaylor Hodges from USL Show picked out early in the preseason when he was on our Fort Wayne Footy, our main show, as he was like, this one's going to be a test for Fort Wayne. Like, for a new squad coming in, you guys have Naples first, which we did, Sarasota, an expansion team, New York Cosmos, an expansion team, and now Chattanooga finished second in the table. So of those teams, it's going to be a tough match regardless, but of the names that you just mentioned, who are the, 1 or 2 playmakers that, our fans in Fort Wayne should be keeping an eye on that are pulling all the strings there in Chattanooga?
Oh, I would definitely talk about the two Hernandezes. I'm just going to straight off the bat talk about, first of all, Omar Hernandez, 24 years old. He's a local lad. So he's from, I mentioned that, I don't know if I mentioned it off air or on air either, but, northern Georgia is just a hotbed of, football, creating football players. And he comes right out of Dalton, northern Georgia. He was actually in the Chattanooga FC Academy before signing a professional contract with the Red Wolves, scored the goal against CFC in the Cup last year. What an important player he is. From set pieces, absolutely deadly, corners, free kicks. The Red Wolves have scored 4 goals in league play this season, and he has had a hand in all 4 of them. He's created 2 and scored 2. Against Greenville, he's good on both feet, right and left. He can whip in crosses that are so dangerous. And against Greenville, he took a cross that ended up going into the goal because there was no one there on the end of it. He then whipped in a very similar cross that Grayson Mercer got on the end of to win the game. Against AV Alta, he also made an absolutely brilliant cross. I can't remember who at the Red Wolves now. I'm blanking, scored the goal at the end of that, but he also then scored the penalty. He's an absolutely wonderful player. He's great to watch, very skillful, just so deadly. And at this level, I don't see players like him an awful lot at the third tier, that kind of creativity. He doesn't tend to last the full 90 minutes, I don't think, but he'll be wearing number 7 on his back. And I think, Fort Wayne fans, as painful as it might be, because if they score and if the Red Wolves attack works, he's going to be the architect of that kind of stuff. So it might be painful, but he's a very, very enjoyable player to watch, especially in person. Pedro Hernandez is the other one. He wears number 14. He's currently wearing the captain's armband because Walefi doesn't seem to be available, but he was, I think, the club's top scorer, and especially goals and assists last season. He's an absolutely brilliant player as well. Definitely worth watching, definitely dangerous. Grayson Mercer has a goal to his name already this season up front. He's a big, tough, you're going to hate him. Fans are just going to hate him. He got a penalty against AV Alta. He nearly got another one then too. So I think people hate playing against Grayson Mercer. He's really tough to play against. Yeah. It's not an offensive player, but I just got to, make a note of Jason Smith again in goals. He's not a very big goalkeeper, but his reflexes, his shot stopping. I thought he was the best goalie in the league last season, but the USL League One disagreed, but that's fair enough. He's excellent. So, yeah, good in attack and solid at the back. But, like I said, they've conceded 4 goals. There's definitely opportunities there.
Yeah.
You guys have Javi Armas there, right?
We do.
I know him quite well from covering Atlanta United 2 games up here where he came from. Yeah, he's a good player. So
Yeah, he's been the guy pulling a lot of the strings for Fort Wayne, the playmaking ability. He's a creative player too, soft touch. Well, and he's got endurance. He can go all day, right? Was it 2024 season for Atlanta United 2? He played every minute, never came out, never subbed, started every game. So he's an endurance guy, and we see why. Like he's strong, he's got good vision, very creative player. We've got a good midfield core. JP Jordan that came out of Texoma last year, and Ryan Betcher out of Union Omaha. Played for them, had scored 9 goals for them last season, is now is forward attacking mid for Fort Wayne. And then we've got Jack Thomas out of Shreveport, Louisiana. There was NAIA Player of the Year last year with 20 goals to his name. And a duo out of Central Florida, and Lillian Recol and Clarence Awudor that surprisingly to me have not seen much time together on the field, coming out of a pretty high scoring offensive minded college team where they had together 20 goals and 19 assists. Just have not seen a lot of time together this year. So I have no doubts that Fort Wayne's offense will kick into gear here soon. And I'm just waiting to see, is it going to be in Chattanooga? Is it going to be in Louisville? Or is it going to be in our first home match on May 2nd? So you say you've got, what's your striker we're going to hate? What did you say his name was?
Mercer.
Yeah, Mercer. Yeah. So we've got a back line that is center backs are all 6'4" or taller.
Right. Okay.
We've got a 6'8" center back out of Columbia. And so we've got height. We'll see, do they have the body, the strength to fight off Mercer there? Well, that's yet to be determined this week.
It's going to be a good game, I think, and these are 2 teams that Fort Wayne need to win, and a good road win would be great. The Red Wolves need to win in front of their own fans as well. The last time they played, they lost disappointingly at home.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the start of a 3-game running patch against expansion teams for the Red Wolves. I think they're playing Boise after that, and then Sarasota. So it's going to be really interesting seeing how they come up against a completely new face. So
yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, we're looking forward to that game. We're looking forward to seeing the guys on the pitch and see how they decide this match. But off the field, I know, again, Chattanooga is a fun place to be, a fun place to hang out. We've talked a little bit about supporter culture, but the supporter culture around Chattanooga Red Wolves, what does that look like? You said 5,000 fans between the two teams that come out, but what's that look like at an average Chattanooga Red Wolves match?
I think you're looking at a crowd, hopefully in the low thousands, 1 to 2, a little bit over maybe. Mm-hmm. You and I know that football teams, soccer teams, when they release attendance figures, they're to be taken with a pinch of salt all the time.
Tickets sold, maybe not people in the stands.
Sold, yeah, exactly. So, it's a good question. So, I think the crowd will be a couple of thousand, and CFC would get a little bit more than that. But it's, they have the pleasure, I think, the Red Wolves, of playing in a soccer-specific stadium. It's not finished still, but it's a very, very intimate place to play soccer. And it creates, I think, there is a great relationship, I think, between some of the players that at the club have been there for a while and the fans. I've talked to players, they love playing on that field because you're so close to the fans.
Yeah.
You visit, you're in the stands, no matter where you are, you can hear everything on the field, for better or worse. You can hear what they're talking to the ref about. So, the club culture is, I think it's, first of all, where the stadium is located is important. So it's out near the airport. It's right on the border with Georgia in what you would say is the southeastern suburbs of Chattanooga. And as a result, they are able to tap in not just to the player pool in North Georgia, but you'll get a lot of fans from that part of the country in that area coming on board. And as well as in the East Ridge suburb, it's very family friendly. It's a nice place to go. Behind the goal, there's a small but very dedicated group of hardcore fans. They will bang drums, they will let off pyro, they will wave flags and chant, and creates a steady atmosphere. Thinking about the culture, though, I think it's genuinely kind of hard to discern because and I don't want to talk about the other team in the city too much because we're talking Red Bulls, but Chattanooga FC have obviously been here longer. They're more established in the community. They are more popular for sure. And their culture, their club culture at that club is definitely way more tied into the community and to Chattanooga as an identity. The Red Wolves, I see that kind of less, and it's hard to pinpoint. The supporter base would come from that suburb and would come from that northern part of Georgia, but the urban city and pretty much all the other areas would probably gravitate more towards the other team here. So it's a really good question, and one that when you had asked me about that, I was sitting here thinking, what is the culture? I think it's family friendly. I think it's their team. They put up with a lot of adversity. I think Red Wolves fans from, I think there's been issues with ownership, and some of those are ongoing. I believe this year they're getting charged for parking as season ticket holders, which they weren't before. So there's a bit of animosity about that. And they live in a city where, when you walk around urban Chattanooga, downtown Chattanooga, you'll see CFC flags, CFC T-shirts, CFC hats, a lot less of the Red Wolves. So maybe a little bit of a siege mentality for some of their fans. I don't know. They could think I'm totally wrong about that, but that's the kind of the effect I get. But I think anyone going, you're going to see a very friendly atmosphere, fans who love their club and who put up with a lot, I think. And a great community of people there supporting. As I said, there's some local players getting into that team, and some of the supporters like Omar Hernandez, from his area as well. So but maybe it's an identity that still has to sort of ferment and develop a bit more. Sure.
How long has Red Wolves been around?
They're coming into their 7th season this year. So sort of 2019 was when they came in. And look, they're an excellent on field. Certainly last season, they were a great product on the field. Like I said, fans of the game will enjoy what they do. And I think in the 6 seasons they've had 3 playoff appearances, including 1 final. They lost 2022 to South Georgia. So, it's a team. They got their fans and they've got their, they're a decent on-field product. So, as a soccer fan myself, who always just pumps for the team who live closest to me, that's kind of all you need. So respect to them.
Yeah, for sure. Here in Fort Wayne, again, we're looking at teams that have been down the road a little bit, right? We look at teams like Boise, we look at teams like Sarasota, we look at teams that, all these expansion teams, we're like, where do we compare there? But we also look at teams like Chattanooga and teams that have been around a while, just to see like level of success. What are the ingredients for long-term success in this league? Because we've seen teams like Georgia, right? South Georgia Tormenta, like just weeks before the season, fall off. I know they're in a very small market, and there's other reasons for that. But so we look to clubs like Chattanooga to say, like, what do we need to do for long-term success in this league? And so just looking forward to that matchup and a lot of, future matchups coming in. As you talk about supporter culture, just I know it's a little maybe elusive there for the Chattanooga Red Wolves culture, but are you familiar? Is it one supporter group or multiple supporter groups, or maybe what is it at Chattanooga FC?
Well, Chattanooga FC has one, which is the Chattahooligans.
Okay.
Quite a strong online presence and very noticeable in the crowd in Section 109. The Red Wolves do have a smaller, I don't know what they're called, though, to be perfectly honest with you. And, when we were doing coverage for the US Open Cup game last year, we didn't find it very easy to get, a real handle when I was writing for the Southeast Soccer Report on some of the supporter groups there. So it's definitely smaller, but, like I said, there's 8 or 9 guys right behind the goal who will make they make a lot of noise for a small group, for sure.
Sure. Yep. I think Fort Wayne's going to be the same way. It's a small but growing group that's going to make a lot of noise and get a lot of fans excited about what's happening in our stadium when that happens. So, Philip, I've really enjoyed this conversation about the teams, about the club, about the culture. Tell me a little bit about the city. Yeah. If I know there's a handful of people from Fort Wayne coming down for the game. Right. I think one is in Florida now on his way back to Fort Wayne, is stopping in Chattanooga for the match. As one who lives in the city, you've been there for a couple years, somebody's looking for a place to go pre-match or something they've got to do while they're in town if they've got an extra day. What would you recommend?
Great. I love these kind of questions because I'm a ground hopper myself. So these are the kind of things I love thinking about. I often say I'm jealous of people who come to Chattanooga on away trips because I think it's probably a great city to come to. And, I feel that way about Richmond. I feel that way about some other cities too. Can't wait to go to Fort Wayne one day.
Love to have you.
I'll be there. So yeah, like if you're coming here this weekend or any other weekend, like I said, the stadium itself is not in the city. So to get there, you're going to need a car, either driving or Uber. That's the one down point. It is out by the airport. So there's nothing feasibly around it in terms of eating or drinking that you're going to go just walk to the stadium from. But there's plenty in Chattanooga. I would recommend people come to the South Side district of Chattanooga. If you just Google that, you'll see exactly what it is. South of the downtown, there is a ton of bars, restaurants, breweries, coffee shops there. If you like, a lot of sports on TV, there's places like Clyde's, Shady's Corner. Some great breweries, though. And if I may shout out, I don't work for any of them. I don't get paid anything, but Five Wits is a great brewery to go to. Wanderlinger, Odd Story. They're all in the South Side area. You'll have no trouble getting a beer there, a local, well-made Chattanooga brew. And there's a ton of restaurants. I mean, whatever cuisine you're interested in, whether it's sort of Latin American cuisine, a lot of that as well. Yeah. A lot of good brewery, pub grub. You'll even get some Asian food around here too. So basing yourself in Southside, I would totally recommend, because I think it is probably, of all the areas, the built-up areas, it's the one that's going to be quickest to get out to CHI Memorial from with an Uber. Just a quick jump on I-24 and then coming back again. So that is where you're going to want to go. Unfortunately, this weekend, there's no opportunities for double headers. Chattanooga FC are playing at exactly the same time as the Red Wolves, and that is a very common thing. So the people who do want to go watch two sets of soccer teams, and you're not going to have that opportunity. And then the Lookouts baseball team, they have a new stadium just built, but it's opening next Tuesday. So unfortunately, they won't be around either. But Chattanooga's got one of the best aquariums in the country. If you're into that, there's some great stuff you can do on the river, the Tennessee River. if you're into history, Battle Above the Clouds, just behind me here on Lookout Mountain, you can get the incline railway up there, get a stunning view of the Tennessee Valley. We're not too far from Chickamauga Battlefield as well. So if you're into your history and you got a car, it's very easy to get out to some of these things. If you don't have a car, the city is great. There's a lot of coffee shops. There's a great arts district up in Bluffs View, I think it's called. And in North Shore, there's some great shops, boutique shops and coffee shops as well. So I think there's something for everybody. And when you get out to CHI Memorial, like I said, you're going to get a very, very friendly crowd. The stadium may not be finished, but like I said, it is a very intimate place to watch soccer. It's a real grass field as well. You're going to be right on top of the action.
Love that. Yeah.
Love that too. And every player I talk to, that's the first thing they talk about. And I think it's a lovely place to watch a game, especially on a sort of a nice evening. Got the sun setting. It's right by I-75. I always find something when I'm at stadiums about watching cars go by and just imagining what they're seeing when they look in. So it's
right.
The romanticism I have about the game. I don't know. And inside the stadium, you'll be able to get local beer as well. There's a vendor that does draft beer from local breweries as well as canned beer. Mm-hmm. Last season they were doing, I think it was $2 Montucky lagers, so that's not bad going for a cheap night. They have an excellent bar. It's sort of made from 2 shipping containers behind one of the corners, stacked on top of one another, and there's a bar on top of one. Great view of the game from there.
Yeah, nice.
And there's also a place that does sort of liquor and cocktails for food. Then there's usually a more established sort of beer and hot dogs and fries vendor, and then there'll be a couple of food trucks doing everything from sort of I think it's often barbecue, some Creole cuisine. The merch game that they have could be a little better, but they do have a setup there. So for people who want to pick up something there too, but I think it's you just got to get there by Uber or drive. But I think once you're there, it'll be about $10 parking, by the way, I think as well, just as a note to people who are driving. That's
fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Just good to know that you can pay as you enter. But I think it's a nice little place to watch a game, and I think. Like I said, the crowd are friendly, and I hope for them it's a nice evening and a good game of soccer.
Yeah, and we hope for a point, at least a point. Another away match.
I absolutely think that's possible.
Yeah, for Fort Wayne, it's we wait to see our team on their field on May 2nd in a stadium that is not quite complete yet either. So, well, Philip, I really appreciate the time, man, that you've taken to share a little bit about your city, the team there. Tell us where we can find you, your work, if people are interested in seeing more about what you do.
Yeah, I had to pull these up. I had a feeling you'd ask me that, and I'm not very good at keeping a I am on Instagram at pfarrell867. I'm also on X at Philip C. Farrell. But my work is on the National Soccer Network. If you go there, expanding into a lot of written content, some great writers on the site now, and trying to cover the length and breadth of the game in the United States, from MLS all the way down to the amateurs. So you'll catch a few of my UPSL pieces there as well. Shout out to the UPSL. Yeah. It's a great league to watch. Yeah. So I always want to get that in there.
Very good. Well, Philip, again, thanks for the time. Appreciate the conversation. You make it up to Fort Wayne. Let us know. We'd love to connect and show you around what we have to offer here in Fort Wayne. This maybe not as eccentric and cool and mountainous as Chattanooga is, but we've got a lot of fun places to show you around up here. So you make it up that way, let us know.
I will, absolutely. Look, thank you so much for having me.